Today we're focusing on Jesus and His authority. Jesus and His authority. When Jesus rose from the dead, and when He came to His disciples just as He said He would do, the first thing that He said to them was this: "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. This is quite an opening statement. And I just wanted to, it got me thinking about the nature of authority in our lives. A couple weeks ago, I got a parking ticket. Yeah. And it was actually on my home street, right? And apparently I was not allowed to park on the street, on the bullet, it's a thruway, overnight between 2 and 7 a.m. But I did not know this was a rule, and the sign for it was, I'd been living there for like 6 months. I'd never seen it because it was on the end of the road. And so I immediately was angry. I saw this thing and I thought, what gives them the right to ticket me, right? And there were some options about what to do. You may have seen these options, right? You can cough up the dough, right? Bjorn, you like this, right? You can cough up the dough and say, yes, I'm a criminal and I did this. Or you can come and plead your case before a judge and take time out of your busiest schedule and go and plead your case as to why you don't deserve this ticket, right? And they got you. So anyway, I wanted to fight it, because I had been living in my house for 6 months. I had never seen this sign because it was so far away from where I park. And I just realized it wasn't worth my time, so we wrote the check. But it got me thinking about authority and power that's over me. Like it or not, this parking authority, right? They had the authority to give me a ticket that had been given to them by somebody, apparently the citizens of Thunder Bay. And so thanks for that. But like it or not, they had some authority over me and they wielded it against me. And that can cause an uneasy tension. Recently in the United States especially, there's been a tremendous amount of tension between police officers and the people they're protecting. And so there's been a series of very high-profile shootings of people by police officers who claim they're doing their duty, right? They're just following their training. But several, they've been all young black men being shot, and there's these questions rising up to the surface of, are the people who have the authority worthy? Are they worthy of the authority that's been given to them? Do the police officers who have a badge and have been given a gun for a purpose by the citizens of the city, are they worthy of having that power and authority? And this is a real question. There's been protests, there's been riots even surrounding this question. And I think just in general in our world, there's more of this kind of questions rising up. So if you think about, do you trust politicians? Since about the Nixon era, we've really struggled with trusting those who are in power politically. Also, do we trust the authority in the church? For generations now, there's been problems there, and especially when you think of the immediate thing that comes to mind is the child abuse scandals that are happening. And so we wonder, are the people who have been given power, are they worthy of the authority that they have been given? And that's a real question, because if they're not, then those under them are going to suffer. Is this true? Yes. And they should rightfully rise up against that authority. Okay? And so there's this tension, and we're left with kind of this uneasiness and this distrust, potentially. And so when Jesus shows up in Galilee, and his 11 are gathered around him, and he says, all authority in heaven on earth belongs to me. Is it hard for us to just say, okay, you got it, right? Have the authority. Or do some of those questions rise up in us? Can we trust the one who has the authority? Can we trust him? And I think the easy Sunday school answer is yes. Right? He's Jesus? Absolutely. You got the trust. But I think if we really think about this, we struggle, and we will always struggle with putting our full trust in the person of Jesus. Understanding that He is who He says He is, that what He says is truth, and not just a suggestion. That He makes demands and commands us to do things, but it's not to hurt us, it's for our own good. And to put our trust in Him requires a lot of faith. And it's difficult. And if you examine your own life, you probably can think of a few areas in your life where you withhold some of your heart from Jesus. Whether it be with your finances. I think I can trust my own finances a little bit more than I can trust the provision of Jesus. With your children, I think at the end of the day, I know best what to teach my children about this life and how to survive. With your relationships, I think at the end of the day, I'm going to make that decision, and Jesus is going to be a footnote. It's hard to fully entrust ourselves to the authority and the person of Jesus. We struggle here. One of the reasons we can struggle with this is because we have all seen power abused. Right? We have seen the politician that fell flat on his face. Right? We have seen the mistrust play out. We have seen those who are in authority, such as police, do the wrong thing. We have seen, even in our own lives, maybe a father who grievously let us down, or a mother who has authority who grievously let us down. And so our hearts are not quick to trust. Although some may say that. We're slow to trust. And we've seen the damage that happens when those who are above us and in authority let us down. And so this can be a difficult task. And if you think about the kids, if you're in school right now, you can look and see which of these kids trust the authorities over them. If you're a teacher, you're pretty aware of this. Those kids that don't trust authority will not go to their teacher if something's wrong. The ones that don't trust authority, they'll hide if something goes wrong. Those who do trust authority end up making the adults their friends. They confide in them, and they're close to them, and they're benefited because of this. They go to the principal if something's wrong. They go to the teachers. If they don't trust them, they avoid. And so you can see in a very real way the way this plays out, and it doesn't stop with young people. You, today, are probably struggling with this on some level. When we look at Jesus, do we think of Him in this way? Do we think of Him as a suspicious authority? When He says, all authority actually belongs to me, do we feel safe or threatened? Jesus says He has all the authority in heaven and on earth. Is that a good thing for this world and for your life? Can we put our trust in His authority? See, one part of this, we could just say, He's kind of like the cop, right? He's kind of like the cop that holds a badge and holds a gun, but I'm not so sure about him. And so I'm not going to confide, I'm not going to trust, I'm going to keep my distance. Or we could see the truth. That He's not like the cop that shoots first and asks questions later. He's like the cop who took a bullet for us. Right? He's like the Father who says something and always follows through with His word and never leaves. Right? He's like the friend who steps in front of the knife when it's coming towards you. That's what Jesus is like. And this is the reason that God actually gave him the authority. So it says, after Jesus did what he did, he went to the cross, proving precisely the love of God for you and for this world, taking upon himself the damage and the sin, right? Taking upon himself the threat. He stepped in front of the bullet for you. And this is why God gave him the authority. See, Jesus proved himself and his willingness to lay down his life for this world before God gave him all authority. After he had done his heroic deeds, that's when God raised him from the dead and gave him all the authority in heaven and on earth. Because Jesus is not like the suspicious authority. Jesus is the authority that we praise him, that he has that authority. We can trust him because we've seen his love before he was given the position. And that's why we give him our trust. That's why we obey him. There's a little, just a little section of the gospel that I read for you today that really illustrates this point well. And you probably missed it. In fact, I think I've read this gospel maybe 100 times, and I've never thought about this. But when Jesus shows up, most of his disciples worship him. Right? So immediately, they know the man. This is the one who died, right? This is the one who gave himself for me. And they immediately worship him. But some, it says, doubt this. And doubt is actually not a very good word. A better one would be hesitate. They don't know what to do, right? Because what would you do if one of your good friends died and then you saw him in 3 days, right? If you had seen one of your good friends take a knife for you and all their blood was out, and then all of a sudden they're standing in front of you again, you would hesitate, right? You wouldn't know what to do with that scenario. And this is the scenario that the disciples are in. They know who Jesus is, and now that he's risen from the dead, there's a measure of fear. Because he obviously is powerful. He beat death. Some of his disciples get it right away. And they bow down to him. They worship him. Like the women outside of the tomb, they grab a hold of his feet and they worship him. But some hesitate because they're not sure what to do. And the next thing that happens is actually remarkably beautiful. That Jesus goes to them. So some are hesitating, and Jesus, he steps toward them, right? And he comforts them. And how does he comfort them? With these words, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. All authority. And like I was telling your kids, right? This is a good thing. It's not like all the authority has been given to someone who we can't trust. It's not like all the authority has been given to someone who has deceived us before. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to the risen, righteous Son of God. The one who took a bullet for you. The one who took a knife for you, who stepped in front of you and death. He's got all the power. And so this, brothers and sisters in Christ, is a great comfort for you. You don't have to fear him. You don't even have to fear your circumstances. All power, all authority has been given to the one who proved his love for you in the blood of the cross. You don't have to worry. He's got the power.